Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from across the world, while shining a light on the day's biggest controversies. I'm Kerry Johnston, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the top headlines now. Russia says Ukraine not pursuing NATO membership is a cornerstone to end the war, after Ukraine's President Zelensky offered to drop its ambitions to join the alliance. The Indian rupee plunges to an all-time low of $90.75 amid uncertainty over an India-US trade deal and persistent foreign fund outflows. Thailand announces a general election for February 8th, just days after the Prime Minister dissolved Parliament amid a raging border conflict with neighbouring Cambodia. Japan says it will send back their last two remaining pandas to China next month as ties between the two nations continue to slide since Prime Minister Takaichi's remarks on Taiwan. And South Korean police raid the headquarters of the cult-like Unification Church, naming its leader a suspect in the bribery of several high-profile politicians. We begin in India, where Delhi once again woke up under a thick grey haze as air pollution tightened its grip on the national capital, raising health concerns for residents. The air quality index stood above 450 in the early hours of Monday, severely reducing visibility and disrupting daily life. Officials said the episode ranked among the worst pollution spells recorded this year. Authorities attributed the sharp deterioration to a combination of factors. Well, these included industrial emissions, vehicle exhaust, falling temperatures, low wind speeds, and stubble burning in neighbouring states. High moisture levels and changing wind direction were also said to have trapped fine particulate matter, preventing pollutants from dispersing. But what defines clean air, and how far is Delhi from those standards? Well, let's take a look now. Well, under government classification, air quality index between 0 and 50 is considered to be good, while 51 to 100 is termed satisfactory. According to IQ Air data, several locations across Delhi recorded pollution levels multiple times higher than safe limits. City-wise, the data placed Delhi at 429, the highest in the national capital region. That's followed by Ghaziabad at 410, New Delhi at 377, Gurugram at 346 and Noida at 292. The Commission for Air Quality Management invoked the highest level of the Graded Response Action Plan, or GRAP-IV. Well, the measures included barring older diesel trucks, halting construction activity and shifting schools to hybrid or online classes.
Yeah, so, of course, GRAP-IV, it's, and GRAP itself, it's a reactive measure. So we are obviously coming to a situation, such a terrible situation, and the numbers that now GRAP-IV is invoked, rightly so. But there's a larger picture to it. It's what we've done throughout the year or years or many years ago, the decisions that were taken by the policymakers, that we are in this situation. These are not overnight things. We know that there are vehicle emissions, there's construction. Now, even if right now for GRAP, all the construction will stop and taking it in the, perfect mode that everything has stopped. So how many days will you do that? We'll see the 2-3 days and the numbers will come back, then it will be revoked. So this is really not the solution.
Meanwhile, Singapore's High Commission in India issued an advisory for its nationals in Delhi NCR, urging them to stay indoors, follow official guidelines and wear masks when stepping outside. Well, earlier, Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta claimed that data comparisons show improvement in post-Diwali pollution levels, even as monitoring data continues to show severe readings.
देखिए, पॉल्यूशन के स्तर पे आप सब ने डाटा देखे। पिछले जो सरकारों के दौरान दिवाली वाले दिन का जो डाटा था और अगले दिन का डाटा था, हमारे कार्यकाल में वो डाटा कम हुआ है, बढ़ा नहीं है, कतई नहीं बढ़ा है। तो आप ये कहेंगे इस बार तो आप कह रहे जी पटाखों की परमिशन भी थी, बाकी चीजें भी थी, तो भी वो जो गैप है दिवाली से पहले का और दिवाली के बाद वाले दिन का वो कम हुआ है। तो पॉल्यूशन उस दृष्टि से पहले से कम है और सरकार अपने जितने भी काम है वो सब कर रही है और करती रहेगी दिल्ली के लिए।
Authorities warned that prolonged exposure to severe air pollution could cause respiratory problems, even among healthy individuals. Children, the elderly and those with heart or lung conditions were advised to stay indoors, limit outdoor activity and wear masks if stepping outside.
No, it is absolutely a health-wise a major hazard, because we see all the effects of it, which are many folds in the sense of people who are getting colds, coughs, people who have pre-existing lung problems, they are getting asthma, severe spasm, being hospitalized. Even lots of people have had to be hospitalized because of this.
Well, the Indian government told Parliament that global air quality rankings are not issued by any official authority and that the World Health Organization's guidelines are only advisory. It said India has its own national ambient air quality standards in place, tailored to national conditions. With severe air quality and thick smog engulfing the national capital for the third consecutive day, flight operations, both domestic and international, were also affected at Delhi airport. Well, clean air is the capital is no longer a given. It now comes at a cost, the cost of living and increasingly the cost of surviving. Delhi has reached a point where even something that was once free now carries a health risk cost. Well, to discuss this more, we're joined from New Delhi now by Chandra Bhushan, CEO of the International Forum for Environment, Sustainability and Technology, or iForest. Welcome to the programme. So as we've explored, there is no one cause of this, is there? So does the solution also need a multi-layered approach?
Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. There is no one cause of air pollution in the entire Indo-Gangetic plain. See, air pollution is not only Delhi's problem. This problem is actually of the entire Indo-Gangetic plain, starting from Pakistan and going till Bangladesh. Of course, the largest portion of Indo-Gangetic plain is in India, starting from Punjab to the northeastern states. So air quality across Indo-Gangetic plain is quite severe right now. And it is because of multiple factors. The primary factor, of course, is use of heating and cooking fuel, which is biomass and coal, industrial pollution from automobiles, stubble burning. So a combination of things are causing such severe level of air pollution, and therefore action has to be multi-sectoral and multi-dimensional. As far as Delhi is concerned, we have to think about a regional air quality plan. Action only within Delhi is not going to solve the problem. So we need a regional plan where at least surrounding states will have to work together to improve air quality.
As you mentioned there, I mean, Delhi is not alone in this problem. Other cities in the world have issues. Some have even banned certain vehicles or even installed extra charges. But is that a practical solution in this case?
I think considering the health emergency that is there, every solution is practical. I mean to say this, first of all, it is a long-term solution. Anything we do today is not going to magically improve air quality. So first of all, we have to think about it as a multi-year, year-round program, whether to reduce industrial pollution or to shift vehicles to electricity or to lower emission standards or to shift cooking fuel from biomass to cleaner LPG. So, or to stop stubble burning. These are difficult challenges, and they are going to take time. So we have to think about a multi-year, multi-sectoral plan to get it done. But as I said, considering the health emergency that is there, the cost of not acting on these things are much higher than the cost of doing these things, doing the action to reduce air pollution. So the cost of inaction is quite high.
And of course, another factor is that Delhi and the National Capital Region have been expanding, and that requires construction, which causes dust. How can that be reconciled?
There are best practices to reduce dust from construction. It's not a rocket science. across the world, and even in India, we have good examples of construction practices where dust management is done well and dust pollution is reduced. I do not see any huge contradiction between undertaking construction and managing dust. In fact, managing dust possibly is one of the easiest thing to do. Then say, for example, reducing industrial pollution or stubble burning. So dust management shouldn't be a problem. It's just that we are not enforcing our laws. It's just that, the companies and architects and builders are not trained well to implement dust management solutions.
Okay, we'll leave it there, Chandra Bhushan. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
Moving on now, the H-1B visa for high-skilled migrants continues to be at the centre of a major political and legal storm in the United States. Now, it's a visa program which allows US companies to hire highly skilled foreign workers, especially in the technology, healthcare, research and education sectors. Indian nationals are the backbone of this system. And in the latest development, California Attorney General Rob Bonta, joined by his counterparts from 19 other Democrat-led states, to sue the Trump administration over its imposition of a $100,000 fee for new H-1B petitions. Bonta says the fee hike is illegal, unconstitutional, and far beyond what Congress ever authorized under US immigration law. He says it's not just a policy dispute, but a constitutional one, and that the new fee could cause staffing shortages for teachers, physicians, researchers, and other vital workers, endangering critical services. The California Attorney General says that the fees may even be applied selectively at the discretion of the administration, raising serious concerns about arbitrary and political targeting. While the White House is standing firm, though, saying that the H-1B fee hike discourages abuse of the system while prioritizing American workers.
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first and also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine this system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court.
Meanwhile, Indian nationals account for more than 70% of all H-1B visas issued in the recent years, powering Silicon Valley with their expertise. The H-1B has been a critical pathway for Indian engineers and a major source of remittances and global professional mobility. A $100,000 fee could make hiring such talent financially impossible for many employers. MAGA Republicans have long accused major tech firms of abusing the H-1B program, arguing it allows companies to bypass American workers in favor of foreign labor. Earlier this year, the US Chamber of Commerce, along with research universities, filed a separate lawsuit, arguing that the administration overstepped its authority and violated federal law. Labor unions from multiple sectors have also filed their own legal challenges. So, as the legal battle unfolds, its outcome could reshape the future of skilled immigration in the United States. Now let's turn to the Bondi Beach massacre in Australia. The nation is in shock after a deadly shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach during Hanukkah celebrations that claimed at least 15 lives. On Sunday evening, as families gathered to mark the first day of the Jewish festival of Hanukkah, two armed men opened fire on the crowd, turning a peaceful celebration into a scene of panic and bloodshed. Well, what followed was chaos, courage, and a massive emergency response as bystanders and first responders rushed to save lives. Authorities have called the incident a terror attack targeting Jewish Australians. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese described the shooting as devastating, saying the trauma and loss for families is beyond comprehension.
What we saw yesterday was an act of pure evil, an act of terror, an act of anti-Semitism, an attack on the first day of Hanukkah targeted at the Jewish community. A dark day in Australia's history on what should have been a day of light. We are stronger than the cowards who did this. And I want to conclude finally by saying that the government is prepared to take whatever action is necessary. Included in that is the need for tougher gun laws.
Well, police say one of the gunmen, a 50-year-old man, was killed at the scene while his 24-year-old son is in a critical condition in hospital. The suspect held a firearms license and 6 weapons were found at the scene. 2 active rudimentary explosive devices were also discovered which did not detonate. Australia has long prided itself on being a safe country with some of the strictest gun laws in the world. However, despite these strict laws and decades of reform, this attack has raised serious questions about how such weapons were obtained and used. Well, Prime Minister Albanese promised to take a strong action against anti-Semitism and announced that tougher gun laws would be considered, including limits on firearm ownership and regular reviews of licences.
This afternoon at 4 o'clock, I will put on the agenda of the National Cabinet tougher gun laws, including limits on the number of guns that can be used or licensed by individuals. Quite clearly, the Howard government's gun laws have made an enormous difference in Australia and are a proud moment of reform, quite rightly, achieved across the Parliament with bipartisan support. If we need to toughen these up, if there's anything we can do, I'm certainly up for it, and I hope to get National Cabinet on board for that this afternoon as well.
Well, after the Australian PM convened an urgent meeting, gun owners could face strict limits on the number of firearms they're allowed to possess, and only Australian citizens will be eligible to hold a firearms licence. Meanwhile, the deadly mass shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach has sparked wide-ranging global reactions, with leaders and organisations from across the world condemning what happened. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi strongly condemned the attack, calling it an outrageous act of hatred, adding that India has zero tolerance towards terrorism. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called the shooting heinous. And US President Donald Trump, too, speaking alongside First Lady Melania Trump, offered his condolences.
And likewise in Australia, as you know, there was a terrible attack, 11 dead, 29 badly wounded. And that was an anti-Semitic attack, obviously. And I just want to pay my respects to everybody.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog called the attack a cruel act of terror, adding that Israel has repeatedly urged Australian authorities to take stronger action against what he described as a growing wave of anti-Semitism in Australian society.
These very moments, our sisters and brothers in Sydney, Australia, have been attacked by vile terrorists in a very cruel attack on Jews who went to light the first candle of Hanukkah on Bondi Beach. Our heart goes out to them. Our heart misses a beat. The entire nation of Israel misses a beat in this very moment as we pray for the recovery of the wounded. We pray for them, and we pray for those who've lost their lives. We send our warmest strength from here, from Jerusalem, and we repeat our alert time and again to the Australian government to seek action and fight against the enormous wave of anti-Semitism which is plaguing Australian society. Let's hope for better news, and we hope to see them all healing and here.
In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Keir Starmer described the news from Australia as deeply distressing and said Britain's thoughts are with all those affected. And German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said he was profoundly shocked by the shooting, while in Brussels, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said she was shocked by the violence and offered her heartfelt condolences. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also said her government firmly condemns all forms of violence and anti-Semitism. French President Emmanuel Macron also condemned the attack, expressing sorrow for the victims, solidarity with the injured and their families, and support for both the Jewish community and the people of Australia. Well, as investigations continue and global community mourns, Australia is left grappling with grief, anger and difficult questions. Well, our final story now is from Southeast Asia, where tensions in the South China Sea have flared again. Well, this comes after a confrontation between Chinese Coast Guard ships and Philippine fishing boats near a disputed area west of the Philippines. The Philippines says Chinese Coast Guard vessels fired high-pressure water cannon at Filipino fishermen near Sabina Shoal on Friday. 3 fishermen were injured and at least 2 fishing boats suffered serious damage. The Philippines Coast Guard says nearly 20 Philippine fishing boats were involved in the incident. Officials say Chinese vessels approached the fishing boats and began aggressive actions. Philippine authorities also accused Chinese ships of carrying out dangerous blocking maneuvers.
The PCG calls on the Chinese Coast Guard to adhere to internationally recognized standards of conduct, prioritizing the preservation of life at sea over pretensions of law enforcement that jeopardize the lives of innocent fishermen.
Well, the situation worsened when smaller Chinese boats allegedly cut anchor lines of several fishing vessels. It left crews struggling to maintain control of their boats, especially with strong currents and high waves. Well, China has defended its actions. It called the latest action necessary to maintain territorial sovereignty over the Sabina Shoal. Well, according to the Philippine Coast Guard, the fishermen were operating in waters around 150 kilometers west of Palawan. Well, the area falls within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone where international law allows the country to fish and conduct civilian activity. Beijing claims the area as its own territory and refers to the Sabina Shoal by its Chinese name. Well, it's a small reef in the eastern South China Sea, and although it's uninhabited, its location makes it sensitive as it's a major global trade route. Well, this latest clash is part of a long pattern of confrontation between China and the Philippines. In October, the Philippines accused a Chinese ship of deliberately ramming one of its government vessels in the Spratly Islands. And then a month earlier, one person was injured when a water cannon from a Chinese Coast Guard vessel shattered a window on the bridge of a Fisheries Bureau vessel near the Scarborough Shoal. China claims most of the South China Sea, despite an international court ruling that rejected those claims. Several Southeast Asian countries say China's claims overlap with their maritime zones. The latest incident has triggered international reaction as well. The United States, Canada, Australia and Germany have issued statements expressing concern. They criticized China's actions and voiced support for a rules-based order in the region. Tensions also extended beyond the water. China said that on the same day that it warned and expelled a Philippine aircraft near Scarborough Shoal, another disputed area under Beijing's control. So with fishing boats, Coast Guard ships and aircraft now increasingly involved, the risk of miscalculation is growing. For now, the clash near Sabina Shoal underscores a larger reality. In the South China Sea, even routine fishing activity can quickly transform into a flashpoint where national claims, strategic interests and regional stability are constantly tested. That's all we have time for on the show today. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost Live, where we bring you the day's top 4 stories from across the world. I am Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios